Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you that just came in here, my name is Steve Shimoniak. I'm the Director for Faculty Development. This is the second session in 5 sessions that are given about critical thinking. This session is going to deal with what we call intellectual standards. Now, before some of you run out of here because it's like, oh wow, well I wasn't here during the first session. That's no problem. Stay in here, you're fine. Another one, I want to thank you for coming to these sessions. As you see, and I hope that you're not looking around and seeing all these empty chairs. As I told some of the other students that were here before, this means a lot of students have assumptions about being able to think and critical thinking. And that's what I'm going to talk to you today. By the way, is everybody ready to go outside? Let's go outside because in 5 minutes, do you know the sun's going to eclipse? Anybody see that in the news? No? You ready to go? It's going to start here in 5 minutes. How do you know that? My key word here is that, and you came into this session, and of course some of you are going, I don't know that, because you already sat into the critical thinking first session. So there you're asking questions already, and you're thinking I got something rolled up my sleeve. But how many times do we come up to somebody, or someone comes up to us, or we read in an article, or we look at a television, and we see something, and we believe it to be true without putting any type of standards to it? Oh, I bet you'd jump out right now if I told you this. Hey, did everybody hear this morning what the president did? Did you know that all the students, fall students, are getting a $500 refund? You need to head over to the library right now. They're actually giving them out for lunchtime. How many of you, without even thinking and asking a question, would say, hey, I gotta go, Mr. Shimoniak, and running out there? And what are we doing here is that our mind is allowing to think of something without putting any type of standards. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to critical thinking. In the first session, let me kind of review and recap real quick. In our first session, we talked about what critical thinking is and how important it is for you to be able to think and think well. Because that's what critical thinking is. It is for you to actually self-regulate and self-govern the manner and in the way that you think so that you can think better. To be able to judge, to be able to discern information, to be able to look at facts. And we found out from the first session, you can take your thinking about anything. Here at school, at work, with your relationships, and be able to take that topic, that problem, that issue, that article, and be able to break it down into little bits of what we call as intellectual standards. Or what I should say is intellectual elements. And we went over the elements of thought. How to be able to take something and break it down into purpose. Understanding what are the questions at issue. What are the most important information? What are the interpretations? What's the inferences? What are the concepts and theories that apply to that problem or that issue? We also talked about implications and consequences, and then we talked about different points of view. Now, it's real great that we can take thinking and we can break it down into these little pieces to be able to actually discern and believe what we want to believe. And we need to think and need to think better. But how do we actually take our thinking and provide some way of quality to our thinking? Has anybody ever worked in like the manufacturing business? You hear sometimes, or you get a piece of clothing, and all of a sudden you look in there's a little tag saying inspected by 7 or 2 or 1. Okay? Meaning that, hey, someone actually looked at that article and looked at it to make sure that there were no flaws, it was a good quality, there were no rips and tears. Well, where's our quality assurance when it comes to thinking? How do we actually apply some type of standards to where when we look at something, that we simply don't arbitrarily go ahead and simply believe it and go, okay, well where's my check? I'm in the S's. It should be S-Z-Y. There you go. Without actually putting some type of measurement, some type of principles or standards to be able to test and measure what we think. And that's where we come into intellectual standards. Why? What's the big deal? I'm thinking right now. You're thinking right now. But what type of standards are you holding to your thinking? Are you simply believing right now, gee whiz, why did I sign up for this thing? My gosh, I could be over there eating a breakfast taco over at Valero. Yeah, I know they're 4 hours old, but all that saturated fat, cool. Gosh, my mom told me to come in here or else she's never given me any money or whatever. We sit there and we think, and we're thinking for a purpose, but how do we actually sit there and take something and be able to say, I believe it, without any type of standards to it? Now, in the first session, and who are those people that were in here for the first session? Okay, you guys be quiet, all right? I want to give you something. You remember, guys, we were talking about the Valley Morning Star, right? Look up here, ladies and gentlemen. Did any of you read the Valley Morning Star a couple of weeks ago? They had a very interesting article. And the article was this. They did a study here in Cameron County. In Cameron County, they found young men ages 17 to 24, 90% of them were HIV positive. No, you can't call your boyfriends right now. All right? 90% HIV positive here in Cameron County. Now, before you all start running out of here and using your cell phone saying, you need to get on the doctor's office now, let's talk about that and use that as we apply intellectual standards. Because it can happen anywhere. Let me ask you something. Do you believe everything that you see on the news? Come on, the guy's up there, suit and tie. You get that very attractive lady, she's smiling and going, yes. And do you know, in the country of Portugal, they did this and this, and you're just like, okay. Do you believe everything that you read in an article? An opinion? Do you believe everything that your friends tell you? You'd be surprised if people would go, yeah, I sure do. I mean, they're my friends. They would never lie to me. Okay, all right. Got beachfront property in Mojave Desert. Willing to go ahead and sell it for you. But here's the problem. When we start to believe, and look, ladies and gentlemen, every day you're having to believe something. Can you believe everything that your instructor's telling you? Ooh, that's a really tough one, huh? Can you believe everything that your spouse is telling you? I hope so. Can you believe everything that's in a news article? Can you believe everything that's on the news? But we all tend to do what? To believe it, right? Well, here's where we start running into problems because, again, too, is we have two things that run into us or that govern the way that we believe when we look at information and provide any type of standards, what we call egocentric thinking. And we all at one level have some type of egocentric thinking. You know what it is? It's the thinking that, hey, my thinking's the best, and what I believe is right. There's no wrong to it. I believe everything. And you see all sorts of examples of that. How many of you work somewhere and you walked up to that person and said, hey, you know, I was going to do this, but is this right? Oh, no, you do not do it this way. You do it this way. I've always been told that this is the way you will do it, and you will do it that way. Or how about you're in a meeting, you're talking, you're kind of brainstorming some ideas, and you got that typical person who says, oh, hold on a minute, time out. Look, all of your ideas are totally ridiculous. I've got the best solution. It's right here. Those are your typical egocentric thinking. They believe their thinking is always right and always true. And then, of course, we have social-centric thinking. We talked about that. Culture actually impacting on your thinking. Your mother, your father, actually framing the way that you think. And unfortunately, this is where it starts running into problems because then you start to assume things. And one of the big ones is that when you look at something, you simply look at it and say, hey, it's true because I believe it to be true. You don't put any type of criteria to it. You simply believe it to be true because you believe it to be true. Oh, come on now. How many of those emails you got and all said, if you simply click here, you fill out this form, Microsoft will go ahead and send you a check for $500. And you're like, okay. Or that publisher sweep house comes and like, oh, goody, goody, I'm going to send it in. I'm going to win $1 million. What do? It's true because what? We're believing it to be true without putting any type of criteria. You can't tell me, and I've done this for 2 years now. I made that statement about that report, and people were like, wow, really? And I had a couple of young ladies all of a sudden start looking at their men and start kind of pushing them away or start getting over into another seat. But the bottom line is where do we ever take a chance to actually take the opportunity and move our mind to sit there and ask some questions and wonder if it's true? We want it to do it because we simply believe it to be true. Here's another axiom. It's true because we believe it. How many times have we done this? You've grown up in a family and you've always been told, hey, when you wake up in the morning time, you will look at the eastern